So we're back on the grind, back to regular content. Meggy Moistmas has come to an end. I know what you're all thinking. What the fuck is Meggy Moistmas? Doesn't matter. You get to suffer it next year. In a new decade, no less. Victory is ours. I should also point out, 2020, No Lives Matter, vote for me. I'll make it sweet and fast. Now, as we're going back to regular content, as many of you will know, I like to talk about injustice. I was going to do a video on the drama circling around Nick Ocado in an Exhibition of Stupid People video. I will save it for tomorrow, as I have yet to finish watching all the relevant videos, as I do believe it requires a more measured response, instead of those that have been much more abrupt. And with videos like that, a calmer approach might yield a better result. Who knows? Maybe me going herder might have a better result, but I can't guarantee it. So instead we're going to talk about this man here. This is Oscar Fortune. He is 51, and in South Carolina, he was charged with ending a life and possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime in connection with a shooting that took place in the parking lot of the Huddle House in Cheraw, Cheraw, please pronounce for me. I would greatly appreciate it. This happened on December 23rd, 2001. Some of you may now notice there's a 5-year gap, though, between that incident and the 2006 conviction of a Chesterfield County man ending of life. That's because there were many crimes this man was involved in. Yes, there's a few. A Supreme Court this year, before it ends anyway, has overturned the 2006 conviction because comments made by an assistant solicitor during the closing arguments have been deemed improper. I'm a bit confused here. I'm not entirely sure what kind of comments an assistant solicitor could make during closing arguments that could, 13 years later, have a 35-year sentence overturned. According to court documents, evidence presented at trial by both prosecutors and defense attorneys showed both Fortune and Anthony Shields, who is the victim, were in possession of a firearm at the time of the shooting. And during the closing arguments of the case, a assistant solicitor who is not named in the opinion, I can't wait to find out why, told the jury, and this is the part that apparently skewed it, my job is to present the truth. On the other hand, the defense attorney's jobs are to manipulate the truth. Their job is to shroud the truth. Their job is to confuse jurors. Their job is to do whatever they have to without regard for the truth. Oh dear, I sense some poisoning of the well. Oops. I'm starting to understand why this comment would come back to bite, but I'm a tad confused how it could impact such a interesting case. But upon closer inspection, you start to realize once you start to attack them instead of simply presenting the fact, you are manipulating the jury, which is wrong. Because of that, because of your actions, the assistant solicitor that is, have nullified what could have been a very rudimentary and simple conviction if the evidence presented him as guilty. Oscar Fortune, that is. And I should point out, since Fortune claimed self-defense, arguing that Shields fired at him first, it would have been easier to prove that the gun had been fired first from Anthony Shields had that bullet been located, but possibly not at the same time. I mean, how do you really find out two guns fired so close together were fired at different times? Impact doesn't show decay when so close apart, time-wise anyway. To those of you who are watching, if I am at all wrong with that statement, please do tell me, but from an outsider's perspective, that's how it sounds. It seems correct. Now, during an appeal process, all previous trials were brought back, in the sense where all the information, all the minutes were brought back. And this is where Oscar Fortune has earned his freedom, because his solicitor now has managed to find something that does damage the original case. Not the incident itself, but the due process he went through. 10 years later, more than 13 in fact, under the due process clause, his rights were violated, which is rather unfortunate, isn't it? Because of that, the court has now had to reverse the conviction. It has no choice in the matter. We can all sit here and speculate, or stand and speculate, whether or not 13 years ago, had just the information been presented, Oscar Fortune would be found guilty or not. We won't ever know because of the accident or mistake or knowingly poisoning of the well of the jurors from the assistant solicitor, who may well face charges of their own for perverting the course of justice, or just get fined or a slap on the wrist or nothing, depending on where they are now. They were, after all, just an assistant back then, may well be something higher up, like a peasant. Now, to go back even further to the case itself, according to the prosecutors, on the night of that shooting, Oscar Fortune's cousin, Santa McCall, called him after she left a Christmas party with her friend. Oscar Fortune was at home when Santa McCall called. Santa McCall told Oscar Fortune that Anthony Shields hit her in the head with a beer bottle and her friend with a bar stool at a Christmas party, with Santa McCall wanting Oscar Fortune to help her go to the police to press charges against Anthony Shields. Oscar Fortune agreed to meet Santa McCall at the Huddle House and had his girlfriend drive him. There are 80 to 100 people there when he arrived. When he got out, he said he spoke with his cousin, Santa McCall, and her friend, and that as they were getting ready to leave, Santa McCall saw Anthony Shields pull back into the parking lot. At this point, Oscar Fortune walked towards Anthony Shields' car. Before getting out of the car, Santa McCall that is, Oscar Fortune put his girlfriend's .38 caliber pistol into his pocket. He testified that that gun was for protection because of the large crowd of people in the parking lot. This led to an argument between Shields and McCall with, and this is where the claims start because obviously we can't get both sides, Oscar Fortune claiming that he asked what was up, with Anthony Shields simply opening fire. As an instinct shot, he returned fire, with Anthony Shields being in his car when he took the initial shot and then being responded to by Oscar Fortune with equal fire, under the guise that, and he claims he was fearful for his life. I would assume if that was how it happened, yes, of course you'd be fearful for your life. But sadly, for Oscar Fortune, upon being found guilty, the Court of Appeals upheld the conviction on direct appeal. How he proceeded this further was, he filed for post-conviction release, or PCR, alleging the trial attorney was ineffective for failing to request a curative instruction, and for failing to move for a mistrial after the assistant solicitor's statement in closing argument. Initially, the appeal was denied by the PCR court, which then forced Oscar Fortune to appeal this decision to the Court of Appeals, which granted the petition, which was denied, again ruling that the solicitor's remarks, while improper, were not so prejudicial to his substantial right so as to deprive him of a fair trial, especially when combined with the accompanying objections of trial counsel and the curative comments of the trial judge. Well, because of this one comment, Oscar Fortune has taken it to the Supreme Court and become victorious. The only sad thing about all of this is that we'll never truly know what actually happened. And sadly, if he is guilty, you'll never be able to get him on it, although he has served 10 years. If he's guilty, put a 0 on and send him back, but you can't do that. Not in your system anyway. I don't think many systems, the West. Something to ponder. If he is guilty, that assistant solicitor needs reaming. If he's not, well, that compensation, though, is going to be pretty big. I'm curious to know what you think about this case. I will link relevant articles down below. Now, I will be streaming tonight at 8:30 PM GMT over on Twitch. If you're at all interested, please join me. It's usually quite casual. I also have a new video on Moistonia Live concerning Tom Watson, the former deputy leader of the Labour Party, taking shots at the Labour Party. If I don't see you over on Twitch tonight, I hope you'll have a fantastic Monday, and thank you all for listening.